So we'll just be patient while we wait for this to connect. So
Okay.
we are live, Nikki. Welcome to G-Force. And before we get going, I'm just going to play my intro for us today. So G-Force. G is for gratitude. This was, I started streaming about 3 years ago now, Nikki. And that
Wow.
was all about in and around my coaching and gratitude. So you're on my G-Force platform here today. And I'm so grateful that we've connected here. Uh, I'm trying to think back a little bit. It was through a business networking group, and you were a coach and I'm a coach, and we linked up and did some other things together. So I'm so grateful that we've crossed paths. You're doing a great job out there helping people improve their lives. And today we got something special that you're going to share with people today is that you have launched a book.
I have.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we'll get into that here in a second. I'll bring up something so people can see the book and where to get the book and all that type of thing. But before we do, thank you for being here. Gratitude. I always like to start all my programs off. What are you grateful for today?
I love that question. Is it rhetorical or are you asking me?
I'm asking you. What are you grateful for today?
Well, number one, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I'm grateful for everybody watching and listening. There's just so many things to be grateful for, and it's one of the highest energies that we can feel into.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was introduced to a book by Robert A. Emmons, and I always encourage people to get that book. It's a small book, but it's a workbook. But we take gratitude in like many things in our lives for granted. Oh, how you do the good. Oh, I'm grateful. Thank you. All those things that we say, but gratitude is a spiritual principle. It's an energy principle. And you being in the space that you're at, we know that we can't hold a negative and a positive thought at the exact same time. So gratitude takes us to place no matter what the circumstances that are going on and around us. It could be a tragedy, a difficulty. And if we go to a place of gratitude, it changes our perspective. We learn to respond versus react. It doesn't put your head in the sand, but it gives you that a different focus to deal with what's going on. And so I take gratitude very seriously. It's changed my life. When it was really introduced to me in a way to look at it deeper, it changed how I looked at everything, who I'm dealing with, why am I dealing with that person? Whether it be in a conflict situation, I learned how to avoid conflict, but sometimes we'd get in those disagreement places. But I take everything from a place of gratitude. And this moment is the most important moment of my life. This very moment, the time with you and what we're doing here is the most important thing because it builds on what's going to happen next in our lives, all the way down the road into the future is in how we deal with these moments, either positively or negatively. So I'm so grateful to know you. So grateful that we've crossed paths. I'm grateful that we can support each other in our missions to help people better understand what it takes and how we operate to get a different level of success in life. And there's a lot of I call wrong definition success. I believe real success in life is who you become along the way to the journey of which you seek. That's
I love that.
yeah. I didn't make that up. That's from Sandy Gallagher, Bob Proctor's. Uh, it is who we become. If we really want to do something special, bigger than we've ever done, we got to change first. And as we grow, many times we're still not there yet. We say, I'm so far away from that thing. But we look back and say, I was there yesterday. Today I'm here. That's success. I'm growing, I'm moving in the right direction. And eventually, one step in front of the other, we get there. So I appreciate with gratitude, Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher and some of the great mentors and people like yourself that have great wisdom and understanding of these principles that have been out there for eons, right? I mean, it's anything that we've invented, but we just find a different way to communicate. So
Exactly.
Nikki,
Yeah.
this is about you, your book. Share. I always like to have people start, a little bit about yourself as much as you want to share your background and where you are today, your purpose and your why around what you're doing. And then we'll dive into a little bit more about your book. Okay.
Okay, I'm excited. Well, I'll start by saying that um, I've decided that success is whenever I feel good. I've just redefined it for myself. If I'm happy, I am successful. And I decide what success is, and I reserve the right to change that at any given moment. Very different from how I grew up. My why. I'm very passionate about what I do because it took me a good 37 years to finally get out of my own way. And I learned a shorter way to change, and I love to help people to do that much quicker. Time stands still for nobody, and why not live a life that you feel lit up about right now, right? So I've made a bunch of pivots in my life. My very first passion was acting. Just wanted to do that my entire life. Moved across the country from New Jersey to LA. Gave myself an entire year before deciding I don't have what it takes. Came back home and settled into becoming an elementary school teacher and ended up staying for 15 years. It was that same thing, different day syndrome. And I just didn't think there were any other options until I learned otherwise. Years of therapy, personal growth, self-help. I mean, I just lived it. And then I got trained in it so that I can help others on a bigger scale. So resigned from my teaching job back in 2019, and it's been over 3 years. And if I believe that if I could do it, anybody could do it. And you just have to decide and then get out of your own way and go after it.
You said something. Thinking back now, when we first met, it was about 3 years. You had just making that transition, and you know what? What impressed me about that? I didn't see any anxiety. I didn't see any fear, other than the time we talk, or those type of things. But your confidence and just oozed out of you because you were in your. I'm a old football player, so I use terminology of sports sometimes. In the zone, you're in that place. Do you know you're in the right place? Not
Yes.
knowing what the future brings, right?
Totally did not know what the future brought. And if I were to make a decision based on what made sense, I would not have left a job that was a paycheck and benefits and pension. It would just make no sense on paper. However, I remember the moment I was getting ready for work in the bathroom and I was thinking about turning in my letter of resignation. And I was like, I don't know what to do. This is not a smart decision, but da 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 da. And I just felt this sense of calm, like in my gut. And I said, I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to trust everything is going to be okay, even if I can't see that it will be. So it's kind of how I've operated ever since.
Wonderful. So when did you? I always like to, because you've gone through a lot. We'll cover some of the things you've been certified in and around this. But who was the first influencer in the personal development realm that caused you to say, that resonated with me? That's something I want to learn personally. I can share this with people. Uh, what were some of the influencers that got you to change your level of awareness? That's the best way to put it.
Yeah. So in the very beginning, I was 16 years old and I was reading Gary Zukov, Seed of the Soul, and Iyanla Vanzant. One day my soul just opened up and it was like getting outside of my own head and getting to see things from a different perspective. And that was my entry point into the personal growth industry. And then I just found so many others, Wayne Dyer, Bob Proctor, Abraham Hicks,
Yeah.
just so many people that I've followed.
Wonderful. I always like to know that because sometimes I was introduced to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill in 1983. And, I had no awareness of what personal growth was. I'm the type of guy, hey, let's just go to work and, we fall, we get up, we just dust ourselves off. I'm just persistence and, work hard and, you'll get there. And I remember the first time I was introduced to the book by a very successful gentleman that today is, he was the founder of World Financial, but I worked with him early in my financial services. And it was required, quote, required to read, study, and every Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And so we're doing the work, and every Thursday, this is how most people resist. This is my story, and we'll get into yours, because I think it's important when we hear personal development books and those type of things. Oh, it can't make that big. They do make a difference if you open up yourself to absorb that information. So here I am. We're in every Thursday with the management team. I said, Richard, come on, let's get on to something else. We've been doing this every week for months. Let's move on. And in a long story short, he decided to leave the A.L. Williams company and this and that and start a new financial service company. And I was the number one salesperson or number one district in the entire company out of 10,000 districts. And I thought it was all me. My ego was so big, all that hard work, Guess what I found out? When I stopped reading that book and applying the principles on a day-to-day basis, I went from the number one in the company to the middle of the pack. Now, most people say that'd be pretty good just be in the middle of that pack. But I thought it was me. And I didn't realize how powerful that book and that had on me until I got into the coaching business. Oh, now I got it. Now I got it. And so that time, now I study these materials differently than ever before. They do make a difference.
Absolutely.
And that leads to your book. So you decided to write a book. What was the inspiration around your book?
So the inspiration was I was asked to do a money mindset training for a jewelry company back in early 2020. And I was putting together the workshop and I was set to go in 2 days. And the person who hired me said, Nikki, this is no longer appropriate. It was March 2020 and the world had shut down. She said, forget money mindset. Can you do something else just to help these women manage? There was so much uncertainty and fear, anxiety. So I said, sure. Hang up the phone. And after trying to come up with an inspired idea in 2 days, I decided, I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to set an intention that the just right idea will come. And I slept on it. And when I woke up, I literally heard and saw the word calm. And each letter was a step for how to go from the chaos in your mind, that constant negative mental chatter, to a place of knowing and certainty where you can make a clear, empowering decision. So that was the inspiration for Calm. And then I thought, I kept using it with my clients. And I said, what if I just were to put this into a book? And then I can help so many more people. And that's kind of how it started.
So how long did it take you to, from that inspiration and I believe, and if I just may interject some of my thoughts, is that the answers for our life are all around us. We just need to be calm. I love a spiritual principle, be still and know that I am. Go to a quiet place. Our answers are there. But we live in a culture of so much chatter and glitter and noise. We need to take that time and just be still. And it takes work. You can't just and find that place. Mine is by water. I just resonate with that water, and that's where I go here in our community links. And I just be still. And that's a ritual and a process I go through. And guess what? Answers come, solutions come by being there. Our intuitive factor is so strong, but we have not been taught how important to listen to it. We hear it all the time, but that's something that's corny, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
Right. Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are talking on your show? Gotta grow up, get out of that fantasy, you know.
Right.
But anyway, so I think it's the book Calm. Do you have a copy of it? You put it up. I'm gonna put
Yes,
something up
I
here.
do. I have my own copy right here.
Okay.
The Calm Method, the inner game to getting the results you want.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can see it's a very easy read. You could read it, and my sister read it in one day. My 97-year-old grandmother read it in 1 week. So quick read.
Good. I'm going to bring something up so that people can actually see it, have your contact information, where they can get the book. It will be right here in this interview here. So I'm going to bring this up and share that for a moment. So there's the book cover. There is the contact information, Nikki's website, and the book ordering site as well. So everything's there. So I encourage people to check it out. Also, tag and share. Anybody that's out here watching this today live, tag and share. We never know who's watching, listening, and that what Nikki's going to be sharing. My whole goal and intention in everything I do is we never know who we're going to touch in a positive way. We're here to give people hope. We're here to let people know that no matter what's going around us, through a place of people, of influencers like yourself, the book, the people that influence me, the people I've interviewed, it's amazing how much we touch one person. We've fulfilled our mission, I believe, in life, that we make a difference in somebody's life. So tag and share. So let's dive into your book. You say that the Calm that's an acronym as well?
It is, yes. So the Calm, each letter stands for a step from how to go from the chaos in your mind to clarity so you can make an empowering decision, feel good about it, and get into action. So do you want me to share the
Absolutely
acronym? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So and I just want to say this because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and I've heard it several times, like, why calm? I need to be at my peak. I need to be highly motivated, and all these things. And I say that calm is the portal to power. It's that moment when the conductor has that beat of silence before the music from the orchestra powerfully, fills the theater. So when you can come from that space, anything's possible for you. So I wanted to start by sharing.
You said something there, and I interviewed a gentleman that, if we don't mind, because I think when you said something is important, and I heard something that's relative in a different context.
Yes.
And then something showed up in my Facebook as a post to reinforce it. You mentioned that people, why do I need to calm, slow down, blah, blah, blah. I just need to go hard. We need to be still and know. Sometimes we have to slow down to go fast. And when I was interviewing this gentleman, Mike Van Pelt, matter of fact, who it was, he was talking about it. And this immediately came to it. This is, I see how people are running their lives. I'm going to relate this little story. Is so we got this big thing that we want to go after. And there's a Corvette parked right out in front. Man, that is a vehicle that's going to take me there. It's powerful. You get in, you start it up, and all the power and the noise, and man, you are excited. But you've never driven it before. And you put on their gas and you're fishtailing and you're squirreling around. Just visualize that. And you don't know how to correct it. And you end up crashing. That's what most people operating in life. That crash is something, they're out of control. But if we just learn to take our foot off the gas, the car comes back into alignment, it's heading straight down, and then you gradually push your foot on the gas pedal. And then you can go as fast in a straight line. But most people are in that chaotic space. That just came to me when he shared that. So when you said that, I just thought I would share that as well. That's my story on how that visualization.
I love the metaphor, so thank you for the visualization. And it feels so much better, and you actually feel more in control that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, slow down to speed up. I 1000% believe in that.
Yeah. So back to your book, Your Calm.
The book, The Calm. So the C in calm is to become conscious of how you're feeling. How you feel matters. I mean, we create with our energy, right? So we start with how you're feeling, because there are so many thoughts that we have, you know, Tom, tens of thousands of thoughts. We're not even aware of all the thoughts that we're thinking. A lot of those negative thoughts are like the pictures and knickknacks we have in our background. They're just always there, so we don't even notice them anymore. So the entry point to even becoming aware of what you're thinking about that could be getting in your way of the things you want to have in your life is to become conscious of how you feel. So the C is conscious. You could name and label the emotion if you want. More importantly, it's to process that emotion so that it's not in you, but you want to let the energy move. So in the book, I talk about a few different techniques that you can use to process the emotion. So you could even have access to other thoughts. You know, when we're in stress or overwhelm, there's lots of thoughts that you're not even going to have access to. So you've got to process that emotion and get to a better feeling place. And then you can have an idea that was there all along, but you couldn't see it before.
Yep. Wonderful. I love what you're saying there, because it's so important to slow down, you know, just be calm, be still, and know, you know, different things I've learned from different mentors that are all saying the same thing one way or the other. So I appreciate what you're sharing here, because I think that's so important. Is
Yes.
For whatever we want in our life, just calm down a little bit. Be
Right.
conscious of what you're feeling.
Exactly.
Right?
Be conscious of what you're feeling and process that emotion. And there's many different ways you can do it. I share some in the book. We won't have time to get into that, but definitely it's not something to push away and ignore. I don't know about you, Tom, but growing up, you know, I heard lots of times, get over it. Lots of people have it worse. You shouldn't feel that way. You have so much, you know, and it minimizes you in some
Suck
way.
it up. Men don't cry. And just
yeah. Pull up your big girl pants.
we laugh at it, but we don't realize how impactful that is on our behavior and the actions we take. We laugh at it, we're conscious of it, but we really don't understand what it's really doing, how we're operating in I call the universe, in this world. So
yeah, it hits a huge impact on us. So yeah, we make light of it, you know, and we also want to process it. So that's the C. And then once we know how we're feeling, like, you know, whether it's doubt, frustration, stress, whatever the emotion is, then you want to, step 2 is to become aware. What are the thoughts? Most times thoughts precede emotion, most times. So you want to get them out of your head and put them on paper. I like to, especially if you're really stuck on something where you're going down the rabbit hole and you just can't get that situation or event out of your mind, no matter how hard you try, that's a good time to stop and, you know, get it out of your head, put it onto paper so you see it in black and white, and then be like a lawyer and ask, are these thoughts facts? Or are they beliefs, opinions, attitudes, interpretations, stories? And most often, they're not facts.
yeah, I love what you're saying. The acronym is be aware. And I always like to share things that I've learned that brings it, the same thing you're saying with a different perspective as well. Is Glenn Morshower. You met Glenn,
I
right?
did. Yes, I got to
Yes,
share a stage.
Glenn is a sage, and in some of the workshops I've been, or the masterminds that are associated with Glenn, and he says it so clearly. Recognize, be aware of your first thoughts in anything, because that is your paradigm, that's your belief system, that's the direction you're going. So, first thought. What's that predominant first thought? Is it fear, anxious, doubt, worry, whatever it is? When we recognize it, then we can what? Do the calming, do the evaluation that you just said. Is it fact, fiction, beliefs, or whatever? And then you can move. So, awareness, yeah.
Yeah,
So he's a great mentor. Would
he
you agree?
is.
Yeah.
I learned so much just hearing him speak and then having a conversation afterwards. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
So
awesome.
awareness. Anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely, so that's step two. That's the aware. We definitely have to be aware of something so we can do something about it. And the second part, after you're aware, is are you willing to let go? Are you willing to change? That's a requirement to get a different result, right? Because I
Right.
can't tell you how many, and I'm sure you've seen this too, where you bring something to somebody's attention and they become aware, but then the walls come up. They don't want to hear it. Nope. And then nothing changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's step two. And then once you know the thoughts and you've identified the beliefs versus the facts, now I just want to add a little something in there when something is a fact, because sometimes there is truth to it, right? Then to help you to dig a layer deeper, a bonus question that I have is what am I making this mean about me? And that's a question that helps you to get deeper and leads you to the belief. So I don't know if you want me to give you a tangible example or if you want to save that for people find out in the book.
Why don't you just mention one tangible example, just so that it brings a little bit more clarity to that, because
Sure.
that's a pretty deep area as well.
It's deep.
Evaluating facts and beliefs, and there's a lot going on there, but just some
Yes.
sort of example.
Okay. So one example, and I share this in the book, is this woman that I was working with was feeling hurt and sad. That was the emotion, step one. And then one of the thoughts in step two that she identified is my husband doesn't include me in important decisions that relate to our family. And I said, is that a fact or is that a belief? And she said, no, that's a fact. He doesn't ask for my opinion. I said, great. Okay. What are you making that mean about you? And then she said, that my opinion doesn't matter, that I don't matter. And that's how we got to the belief, I don't matter. Is that a fact? And she said, no, it's not. So that was the underlying thought that was causing that hurt and sad.
Wow. Great example. Great example. So,
Yes. So once you go through those thoughts and you're aware, you can move into step three, which is the L, which is to lean into what else is possible. If step two, those thoughts are not facts, okay, what else? What's another option? And that's where you start to reframe in step three. That really starts to open up your perspective and also raise your vibration. So you go to higher level emotions.
okay.
Mm-hmm. And then you're already feeling better because now you've changed your focus and it's more on what you want, right? And then you can move into M, the fourth step, which is to make a new decision. So now knowing what you know, now what are you deciding about that situation? And in the example I shared of that woman with the husband, her new decision was that I'm in the process of seeing my value. You know, she wasn't there yet to say I am valuable, but she used the transition phrase, I'm in the process of. And we did we did some tapping and different other tools to help.
Mhm.
But it's a great foundation, calm. It really teaches you how to think and how to process emotions, two things that really weren't taught in school.
Yeah. You being a school teacher, you went through how to teach, but we're not really teaching. I just want to recognize Jay Skinner for coming and making a comment on through the YouTube channel. So Jay, a wonderful guy. He does his own program as well. Tag and share this out there, Jay. You're an awesome guy. Appreciate you coming in and join us today.
Awesome.
And he says, and we are live. This is great. I think he was picked up on.
Oh, thanks, Jay. Glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah. So we were on L, right? We finished L, right?
We finished L and then M. Now that you can see, now that you have it on paper, you see the reframed thoughts. Now your attention has moved to something more positive and empowering. Now you can make a new decision, a decision that's going to help you to get into action. And then take the action before you talk yourself out of it. That's what I tell people. When you have an inspired idea, act on it right away.
Yeah, action is so critical because the reason we don't move, and there's several reasons why we don't take action, and I think the predominant one is fear, and fear has many different categories. Mm-hmm. Fear of rejection, fear of criticism, everything. But so the moment we take action, we recognize that fear that we had was just chatter. It's never, because our amygdala, our mind goes to danger, danger, death, death, run, fight, all that goes on. And when we take that action, you go, you know what? Picking up from a business script, making that phone call wasn't that big a deal. You know what? They actually, even though they said no, they were pretty nice people. We go through this and we think, oh God, they're going to hate me, not like me. And and then we go, and then guess what? What it does is neurochemistry goes on, right? We like that feeling, so let's go do it again.
Yes.
Let's go do that. Is it the dopamine? Did I use the correct terminology? Our dopamine response?
Feel-good chemicals, the dopamine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you actually, that's a great example. And I heard you use calm in that example of picking up the phone and making the calls, and the C, conscious of the fear in that example, right? And A, what if they hang up on me, or what if they yell at me, or what if, those are the A, step 2, and then lean into what is possible. And that's where, what if I'm the person that they needed to hear from today?
Yeah.
And make a new decision. I'm going to pick up the phone and call, then dial.
That's it. That goes to the communication. It's not just the words we say. It's even if we're on the phone, there is a vibrational. Our energy is going out in the universe.
Yeah.
And we can't comprehend the physics of our energy. Everything is energy. And it travels at the speed of light or faster. I don't know if they can even calculate how fast energy flows. But it's when you get in that state of calm, all these things, your energy radiates, and people will respond differently than prior to being cognitive or aware and conscious of these principles. I think that's one of the great gifts that people like yourself are doing, is just bring people level where, and yes, there is a process. And when we understand the process, and this is universal law, and what I mean by that, and this is from what I've learned from some of the greatest thinkers out there that I've read and studied, is a true law is non-man-made. Our thinking is non-man-made. We interpret it from a man's position, but how it operates in our beingness is by law. Mm-hmm. And if it's like a physical thing, gravity always works, and it works exactly the same way under this exact same circumstances. You take a feather, and it's going to, under the same it's going to do exactly the same thing 100% of the time. I drop this pen, it will do the same thing. A chemical reaction, you change a molecule, it will always do exactly the same thing. Our thinking is the same way. When we get the thinking out of order, or the vibrational levels, or the energy, whatever we want to call it, and we put them in alignment, and they start working exactly as the universe has designed. It's physics.
Absolutely.
And people think that's woo woo, but it's in review. Study Einstein and he understands how the mind works. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, you and I can get off. I can dump a bucket of all sorts of excitement out here, but
well, I'm glad you brought that up, because you don't have to believe in gravity for it to be working. Like you said, it's always on, it's always working, and so are the principles behind your thoughts. So you could think it's woo woo, right? And I always say, just look at your results. When you have the results you want, great. And when you don't, it's like, well, what can I shift? What can I tweak? And you might start with physical action, right? And just kind of monitor your results, look for the feedback. And then if you're still not getting those results, then perhaps go inward. And that's what I love to start with, is going inside first. How do I feel about this thing that I want? Am I leading with the energy of doubt and fear? Because that's going to impact the results you get.
Yeah, it's very, you're saying the same things I say, or in just a different delivery, and your communication is fabulous. Fear. We use fear as the number one reason why we don't, and it's categories also. There's fears, and usually just things that we think the worst case scenario is going to happen. We make them up, or we're influenced by our past and those type of things. But then there's phobias, which is a whole different thing. You need some help on that one. That's outside our capability, a real phobia. But I learned something from a football player, is that the words we use, there's parallel words that give the same vibration.
Yes.
And I like using this one. I learned this from a football coach in that area, a motivator in this area, that just the last event where that football player had the cardiac thing, they're in a sport that technically can kill them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Common sense is, why would I do that? Why would I do that? So what coaches do, they get people tied at an emotional level to an outcome, the winning of the game, stopping the play, or whatever it is. But there's fear involved, because if you think about it, running down and colliding with another human being that could potentially kill you, common sense, let's not do that. So how do you replace that fear level, that vibration? Hey, we're not going to do this. And you change the word to excitement. Excitement and fear have exactly the same levels of the vibration. We have all different levels of fear. We have all different levels of excitement, and they're exactly the same. So you change what do you think about just changing a word sometimes when you recognize that vibration? Or the anger. What is an opposite word that would change the vibrational level or match it in a positive way? What are your thoughts on that?
I love everything that you're saying. I could spend all day doing this. I love reframing. It's one of the keys to your success in life, is to really reframe and really watch the words that you use. Your words matter. We've heard so many people say this, including Brene Brown. Your language matters. And excitement is a great reframe for fear. You mentioned the word anger. One of the reframes I recently used for that was passionate. Somebody was talking to me and they sounded angry. And when I told the story, I said, oh, he was very passionate as he was telling me his opinion on this subject. And it felt better. It felt a lot better. And it's subjective, right? What feels good to one person doesn't necessarily feel good to another. So that's important too, as you're watching your words and you're reframing, is to choose ones that resonate with you.
Okay. Besides your book, in your coaching, your mentoring, I like to let people know, in what we do, we want to help everybody. That's the nature of what we want to do. We want to get this information out. But in the real world, there's going to people that are going to respond to a Tom Ginn differently than we respond to you, or a Bob Proctor, or a Sandy Gallagher, or a Brian Tracy, or all these great people that are out there. Who do you really want to serve? I think that's important to those listening that hear your message. Where's your passion? Is it women, men, children, whatever the case is? But there's a sweet spot for you. What would you say to people out there?
Yeah. What I would say is my passion is focusing on personal growth and achieving the results and the goals that you have in life. So just as mine, I left a 9 to 5 and I started a business and I'm doing what I love. That's what I want to help other people do. Not necessarily leave a 9 to 5 and start a business, but it's basically achieving a goal where you might be talking yourself out of it and coming up with all the reasons and excuses for why you can't have something or do something. But there's this, I want something more. There's that yearning, that feeling, and that's who I like to help. So I do work with a lot of entrepreneurs or even professionals, and they've got these certain milestones or goals that they have, and there's just a doubt or a disbelief or a lack of worth that they think that they can, and that's who I love to help. So adults, women, men, I work with both.
All right. You said something there is that, even when we look at people that we will frame them as successful or not, based on stature, titles, income, where they live, all the things that we would categorize success. And this is what I found out. Even the people we see are the most successful have limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
They have limiting beliefs too. They have hurts. They have wounds. They have trauma in their life. They have failures, or they've had successes. And we can help, a lot of times that's, as we look at those people, those that are out there, and I learned this from some of my mentors, is don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because it's not a sign of weakness. Asking for help is a strength.
That's a great reframe. It is.
Yeah.
It takes courage to ask for help. Right?
And especially when we're dealing on the internal stuff, the growth stuff, because success is an internal job. It starts from the inside. It manifests itself in every different areas of our life. And so don't be afraid to ask, especially men. I had a good conversation with somebody yesterday in an interview. That men's egos and how we've been conditioned, pulling up the bootstraps, and you just get over it. It'll all work out, right? Just go kill another animal, bring it home, we'll figure it out. That's the primal side of us. So don't be afraid to ask. Whoever's out there, reach out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So anybody that's out there looking for mentors, coaches, facilitators, whatever, there's all different categories. Some of them mesh together, some are totally separate. What do you tell people what they should look for? I think this is important. I'm looking for help in this arena. What would you say to somebody? What are the things they should be looking for in somebody that can potentially get you off being stuck or move and grow in the direction you want to go? What would you say to the qualities you're looking for in somebody?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I can answer for myself because I've worked with many mentors and coaches. I'm a big believer in that. And some of the biggest leaps that I've made in my life were working under mentorship with someone. So how I make my decisions, I'm very kinesthetic. So I go by how I feel. And oftentimes I have this knowing that I want to work with this person before we even get on the call, whether it's a discovery session or a sales call. I just know. So some of the things I look for is that we think in similar ways. We have similar styles and personalities, similar values, and that's really important also. is to work with somebody who has similar values to you, because they really drive our behavior.
Yeah.
So that was always important to me. There was a couple of people who I wasn't working with yet, and there was such dissonance in how we thought and how we approached life that I thought this would never work, because then I would just be taking action on what I was told to do, and that never that never led to results that I wanted. Because again, the energy, just going through the motions and feeling resistance doesn't yield those results.
I would just build on that too, is find out their story,
Mm-hmm.
or why, because my story will resonate with somebody that maybe have had the sort of, there's no two stories the same, right? We're always unique, but the theme might be the same, right? The details will be different. And listen to their story, their why. Are they coming from that place you mentioned, the passionate side? Are they really passionate about and committing and helping you? Because that's what we're all seeking as human beings. You're right. Maslow, if you study Maslow, the hierarchy of human needs, and I break it down to real simple to this. And Kathy, my wife, is probably the best one at this. And she's written a book on it as well. So, but is people really want to know. And this is why her business has exploded. Do you see me?
Mm-hmm.
Without judgment. Do you see me? Just see me. Do you hear me? Are you really listening? And number 3, are you demonstrating care, empathy in those areas? If you can be that in life, you'll have success in all areas of your life. In relationships and in business, with your family, with your work colleagues. And I think when we see those people that are succeeding, is they are interested in you before interested in themselves. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. And I love that. That's one thing I think is universal, is that we all want to be seen and heard and know that we matter.
Yeah, that we matter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I picked up from the first time I met. I forget, was probably one of the networking groups, and we connected.
It
And
was, yes.
yeah, and we got together.
Mm-hmm.
We did a little thing with my wife's cousin and Phil, and we did that.
Yes.
And here we are. You got a book written.
I mentioned him in the book, Phil
Well,
Natsky.
Phil,
I'm sorry, Chris
Natsky. Yeah.
Chris Natsky. Yes, we did it with Phil Pinto and Chris Natsky, the event.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I'm going to bring your book up here so that people can take a moment to jot down or get this information here. So I'm going to do the screen share. Yeah, just take a moment, tag and share people out. Nikki's information. I highly encourage and recommend you get the book, because I'm not, up until I became a personal development coach, I had a lot of books, but I never read books. You know what I mean? I read a couple chapters and okay, that's enough of that. And then, but now today, my wife says, you bought another book. So I read probably 3 to 4 books a month, and people say, and if they know me from the past, I go, what? Mm-hmm. But seriously, one book can change your life. Just one chapter, one element of the calm could change how you're going to move forward. And I just encourage you to reach out to Nikki. All her contact information is in the content above this replay. Also, here in that slide I shared. So, but in closing, I tell you what, doesn't time fly when you're having fun?
It does, yes. It flew by.
Flew by.
Yeah.
But share in final thoughts about a message you want to leave with whoever hears this. Just one final thought, if you can. I'm putting you on the spot. That's sometimes a hard one.
No, that's okay. I'm going to tune in and see what comes up. That is really how I do life. I want to say, take the time to get to know yourself, right? And calm, it really walks you through how to recognize that most important relationship that you have in your life, which is with yourself. So it'll really help you to see what is the self-talk, what's that dialogue in your head that's with you day in and day out, and that is having a direct impact on your life. And if it's healthy, awesome. And if it's not so healthy, you can improve it. You can improve it. So that's my final thoughts is love yourself and up level those thoughts in your mind.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
You know, I've appreciated this time today, sharing your book and sharing your thoughts and your purpose and your passion. Um, you know, I know we're going to stay connected for a long time. You're that, you know, we've crossed paths for reasons. I believe the universe delivers people in our lives for a reason. And I'm so grateful to know you and encourage your growth. You know, it's not, our growth is not a destination, right?
That's right.
We
Yes,
have unlimited potential.
we do. And we're always in process.
All
Thank
right.
you, Tom. Thank
You
you.
got it. I'm going to close out with my corporate sponsor video, and then we are done here. Let's see if I can find it here in my tool chest of. I'm trying to find something here. There we go.